The only person that could give Shabbat was God himself. And so they're looking at Jesus and says, who do you think you are? You can't forgive sins. Who do you think? You can't tell people to go in peace, to go in Shabbat. Who do you think you are? And Jesus is saying, I am the one that has come to fix all of this, to sacrifice my life. I'm the one that will live it without sin so that I can close the gap between fallen man and a holy God. I can give Shabbat. I can bring peace to those that are at odds with me. God manifests in flesh. His words, his breath is the only one that could bring rest, bring completion to his creation. It's this passion for the lost that's evident in his parables that he gave of the lost sheep, of the lost coin, and the prodigal son in Luke 15. The shepherd leaves the 99 in the fold. He leaves a place of rest, a place of safety, because there's just one that's lost. One that is stuck in the thorn somewhere. One that has lost his way, but yet the shepherd leaves the place of safety. He leaves the place of rest, the place where he went after a long day of walking, a long day of toiling. The shepherd says, I am not content to stay here as long as there is one sheep that is lost, because we serve a God that is not content with just staying in the sheepfold. If there is still one that is lost, he is still at work searching for the lost sheep. The woman who had the 9 coins in her possession but was missing one, instead of having the attitude of, oh, well, it's just one coin. It's not worth searching for it. It's not worth getting on my hands and knees for. It's not worth getting dirty over. No, he says, this, who I am, my nature is that even though I have 9 coins to redemption this morning, because when Jesus hung on that tree, it wasn't just something that he did on a whim, because as we know, God doesn't just create anything. He doesn't just do anything on accident. Everything is intentional. So when he's on that tree, his arms outstretched, he is doing it for our redemption. It wasn't just transactional. He wasn't just paying off a debt humanity couldn't afford, even though he certainly did that. What he was doing is he was in the process of a second creation. In the first creation, God spoke life into existence, and then he rested. In the second creation, God pours out his own life to bring us back into communion with him. When Jesus reached out on those agony seconds and when he said, it is finished, it wasn't a cry of defeat. No, it was an echo of the 7th day of Genesis, with him saying, the work of redemption is complete. It is finished. My plan from the very beginning has now culminated in the fact that I am now sacrificing my life. One that knows no sin now is sacrificing the life for all of humanity. It is finished. Shabbat, Sabbath on the 7th day. He can rest. He can cease to work just for a moment because his plan has been complete. He was closing the gap. He was building the bridge of reconciliation with humanity. He was shedding his own blood. The power of the cross is that he didn't just fix us. He makes us a new creature like he created in creation with Adam. 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 17. I'm going to read it in the NIV if it's okay. It might be on King James Version, which is fine, but I'm going to read it in the NIV. 2 Corinthians 5 and 17. Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, the new creation has come. The old has gone. The new is here. All this is from God, who reconciled us to himself through Christ and gave us the ministry of reconciliation. That God was reconciling the world to himself in Christ, not counting people's sins against them, and he has committed us to the message of reconciliation. So 3 times there, this word reconciliation, reconciling is used. What does that mean, Pastor Nathan? It means when we talk about these reconciliation, salvation, redemption, all these words, we aren't just throwing out churchy words. These are heavy, powerful words. We're talking about restoration of a soul back to God's original plan and purpose. The word reconciliation literally means to bring two parties back into harmony. It's the word kafar, to cover, to purge, to atone for sin, to cleanse, to disannul, to forgive, to pardon, to purge, to pacify. It calls back to the sin offering that was instituted by God back in Leviticus chapter 8 and verse 15. Moses took the blood and put it upon the horns of the altar round about his finger, and purified the altar, poured the blood at the bottom of the altar, sanctified it to make reconciliation about it. Hebrews tells us that without the shedding of blood, there is no remission of sins. So the reconciliation that God found to try to figure out how to move forward after a disagreement. Reconciliation, though, a perfect picture of this is the father of the prodigal son running down the driveway to embrace his son. Reconciliation. Two parties coming together. A father who has been waiting for his son. The son who took everything that father would give and wasted it, and now they're coming together. They're reconciling again. And 2 Corinthians tells us that God was reconciling the world to himself in Christ. So what Jesus did on the cross was he was pulling together those two sides to bring us back into perfect harmony again. In this case, we were the ones that walked away. Adam and Eve were the ones who broke that harmony. But God, the one who was offended, the one who was wronged, is the one that took the initiative to fix it and has been waiting for the prodigal to return. This message of reconciliation. Reconciliation is possible because he refuses to give up on the relationship. Salvation is available to you and I because he did the heavy lifting that we couldn't do. He gave us the cross. He sacrificed his life so that reconciliation would be possible. Because the cross is the ultimate path of reconciliation. Humanity's sin was redeemed at the cross. We found salvation at the cross. All that who have sinned can be reconciled, covered, cleansed, forgiven at the foot of the cross. And yet the cross was only the beginning of God's redemptive work. Because Jesus said in Luke 19:10, "For the Son of Man is come to seek and to save that which was lost." This is why even now he is still reaching for the lost. This is why even now God does not rest. This is why now God is not tired. God is not weary. God is not saying it's time for me to put away my creative juices. It's not time for me to stop working, to stop ordering. I am not going to rest until I am seeking and saving all who are lost. Because while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. The ultimate rest hasn't fully set in for him. He's not sitting there with his feet up. He's not indifferent to the world around us. He's still at work. He's still interceding for us when we stumble. He's still pursuing the person who thinks that they've gone too far. He's still knocking on the doors of hearts that are heavy and burdened. Why? Because until we make it home, until he calls all of us home, we are still in the process of being saved. We're still seeking. He's still working to save each and every one of us. And so until that moment happens, until we all breathe our last breath, until he calls us all home, he is still at work making sure that we make it there. The cross was the payment for the price of sin. It was what was needed for this reconciliation to be possible, but the work was only beginning. See, he won't truly rest until the news of the gospel, the news that there's a path of reconciliation, that there's news that through his death, burial, and resurrection, we have the opportunity to come back into relationship with him. Until that gospel is preached to every creature, until everyone has had the opportunity to react and to respond to that, he is still